The Portland Trailblazers in game 2 attempted 35 shots, hit 25 of those, 71%. And how about game 1 when the Blazers went to the line 41 times and shot 83%, and they've kept the Jazz off of the free throw line as Wallace steps up. He had 12 points in the first quarter on Tuesday and did a marvelous job on Karl Malone on the defensive end. Malone held to the 15 points in game 2. Malone moving a little better here tonight with more flexibility and mobility than in game 2 after suffering the sprained knee and that freak accident in Sunday's game 1.
The Jazz telling us they're going to run a lot more screens, try to get Stockton wide open. Finally, Karl Malone gets to the free throw line on a drive, sweeping, rolling hook to the lane. Karl only took 2 free throws in game 2. That was only the 7th time in 155 career playoff games that Karl has taken 2 free throws or less.
Karl Malone in his 15th year at the age of 36. He believes he'll play to the age of 40. Still has 3 years left on a contract following this year, and he is just the only NBA player in the history of the league to score 2,000 plus points in a season, 12 years. And he would have done it 13 had the lockout not crept up on him last year. Here's Malone at the line. The second one airborne is good. And the Jazz are on the board for the first time tonight.
Jerry Sloan, a pensive look on his face early on, waiting to see if his calling out of the team will work. Why would Karl Malone stop at 40? I think just go to 50.
Rasheed Wallace baseline right for the jumper. Sabonis hauls down the rebound. Look at him scoop it outside. They rotated to Smith, who had 19 in game 2 Tuesday. Sabonis with a sweeping hook. Polynice with a rebound. Here come the Jazz. They want to run when they can, but look at the Blazers fill the lane. And so Hornacek fires with 18 on the shot clock and knocks it down in transition.
Great signs early. Brian Russell getting open and looking, but no, the jumper didn't go down. Karl Malone getting to the free throw line. Transition basket, something non-existent in the 2 games in Portland.
Here's the matchup the Blazers have exploited in the first 2 games. Either Smith or Pippen on the post-up of Hornacek, but he falls away on that jumper and left it short.
Both jumpers for the Blazers have hit the front of the rim. Not a good sign when you're trying to get off to a quick start. Great hand, Scottie Pippen, one of the all-time best defensive players in the history of basketball. When you talk about that list, it would have to include Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, and I can't think of anyone else who would be ahead of Scottie Pippen.
Foul called on the inbounds. It'll be on Steve Smith. It is the first on the veteran from Michigan State University.
A 2-shot foul in order since the ball had not been passed successfully inbounds. Brian Russell to the line for 2. Dee
Lynam is with us tonight and will be joining us shortly with reports through the evening from the sideline here at the Della Center in Salt Lake City, where the Jazz are 3-0 in the playoffs, going to a 5-game set against the Supersonics of Seattle in the first round. Here's Russell, the second up and in. And the Jazz open up a 3-point lead. 2 minutes gone by here in the opening stanza. Pippen waits for Wallace to come to the ball side. He's got it in deep. Malone is on his hip. 12 to shoot. Rasheed with a fall-away hopper. There's Pippen to keep it alive.
Everything on the front of the rim for Portland.
Stoudemire back to the rack. Pippen again keeps it alive. Wallace with second helpings up and in.
Utah at their best is when Karl Malone's on the weak side to get the preponderance of the rebounds. Right now, Karl, they're attacking through Rasheed Wallace. He has to deny that. That leaves Brian Russell to get it, and he can't do it by himself on the weak side defensive board.
Hornacek with that bad wheel enters the pass to Malone. An off-balance hook rimming off. Tracked down into the corner by Damon Stoudemire.
I'm not quite sure if you can call that a hook shot. That was much more of a throw by Karl.
Here's Smith again on the post up to Hornacek. Drop step to the baseline. No weak side help, Bill. Where's the help for Hornacek?
Utah Jazz coaching staff telling us they spent so much time working in terms of preparation, video analysis, trying to solve the riddle of the big guys in the post, particularly Scottie Pippen and Steve Smith.
Blazers by 1. Wallace extends the defense on Malone. Off-balance jumper. Sabonis with the recovery. His second rebound.
Major problem for Utah. That Karl Malone has been outplayed by Rasheed Wallace. When your best is being outplayed by the other team's player, you're in real trouble.
Crowd thought Smith was moving on the screen for Stoudemire. Here comes Sabonis with a big Lithuanian 1-2 into the paint and finishes it beautifully.
Sabonis so strong, but so dominant right hand. No one able to turn him back the other direction. Steve Smith, who's had a lot of knee trouble himself, has some empathy, some sympathy for Jeff Hornacek, who is struggling there, but is certainly not going to let him off the hook. This is about winning playoff series. This is about going for the championship, something Steve Smith has never done.
Blazers by 3. Hornacek curling off the screen, fires over Pippen, a tough shot. Jeff Hornacek in rhythm. He's nailed 2 here in the early going.
Again, setting screens, everything coming together for Utah. This is a team that doesn't rely on any sense of athleticism at all. Damon Stoudemire so smooth with Olden Polynice unable to make any sort of defensive rotation. A wide open lane to the basket for Stoudemire. Jerry Sloan needs a lot more out of Olden Polynice.
Sabonis sets an awesome pick at the top, doesn't he? 7'3" and nearly 300 pounds. Here's Hornacek driving in, and he is 3 for 3. Jeff Hornacek giving the Jazz the early momentum, but the Blazers hold the 1-point lead.
Hornacek moves so gracefully without the ball. Now pick and roll action for the Blazers.
Stoudemire slings it to the open man, and Smith for the 3. Smitty guns it down. Smith was an economical 6 for 8 in game 2 with 19 as Hornacek goes to Stockton, coming around off the screen for the jump shot. And the Jazz are within 2 with 7 minutes left here in the first period.
Jazz looking better in the opening 6 minutes here than they did at any similar period in Oregon in the 2 games there.
Both teams feeling each other out. Off the screen, the cut, the pass from Sabonis to Pippen hit the bottom of the rim. Utah basketball.
Talking to Scotty about the joys of playing with Sabonis, a wonderful passer. Those championship days when he had Bill Cartwright in the first 3 championships. Karl Malone strong into the lane. Too much size and strength for the Blazers, though.
Goes right to the body of Rasheed Wallace, and a foul is called. John Stockton trying to chip away at Sabonis, and a foul on John Stockton.
Somebody better restrain Jerry Sloan, who's irate that Karl Malone's not going to the line. Instead, the foul against John Stockton. Blazers by 2 midway through the first. It's also not a team, a franchise that has had great success in coming back from deficits.
Here's Wallace in the paint, and that is bad news for the Utah Jazz. If Wallace can find the handle in the paint, he can leap over people at 6'11".
Kenny Smith and Peter Vesey were talking about the length, the extension that Wallace has. Olden Polynice, he's not making shots, but at least he's catching the ball tonight.
And rebounding and putting it right back up and in. So the Blazers lead it by 2 with 5:51 to go in the first period. The overall length of the Portland Trail Blazers can be daunting to their opponents as well. That's why they're such a good defensive basketball team.
Well, the only position that they're not bigger right now in is Damon Stoudemire, who's got a great quickness advantage over 38-year-old John Stockton.
Stoudemire misses, but tipped out by Sabonis, the man mountain. Stoudemire will regroup, set the floor. 2-man play. In on the block, Rasheed Wallace. Wallace feeling Malone on his hip, spins away from the pressure, and the fall-away jumper is good. And again, the great extension by Rasheed Wallace. 3 for 5 here early, Bill. 8 points, 4 rebounds in the first quarter, and just 7 minutes gone by.
Reminiscent of moves, extension, length of Kevin McHale, one of the great power forwards in the history of basketball. Stockton off the pick, can't find the range. Where are the hands of Olden Polynice, please?
Wallace, I believe, came over the top for the loose ball foul. Let's wait and see.
When Rasheed Wallace backs him in. Now, Karl Malone has developed into one of the top defensive players, a regular on the all-defensive team, but he's not going to get up in the air and block shots. He's going to strip you down low. Karl can ill afford to pick up fouls. Stoudemire to the bench. And Greg Anthony, a noted Utah Jazz killer, back into the lineup.
Somewhat of an antagonist, too.
You have to do that. And Greg Anthony, very key performer. 2 fouls on Stoudemire.
Yeah, that was on Stoudemire, not on Wallace. Wallace has yet to pick up or actually has 1 personal foul.
It was a year ago here in this series between these two teams, won by the Blazers 4-2 without the home court advantage, that Greg Anthony got into a little altercation with Utah team owner Larry Miller, as Miller came off the front row seat there and got into a little physical competition. Miller subsequently fined Sabonis. So smooth, so graceful, torching Olden Polynice with all kinds of moves.
Just as he did on Tuesday night when Ostertag was the victim. Here's Stockton coming off a Polynice screen, trying to get it back to Olden on the roll, but John uncharacteristically throws it away. You could probably call that an unforced turnover. Smith with it, gives it low to Rasheed Wallace. Good recognition of the hot hand, but he finds Pippen open beneath the rim. Off the mark in traffic, Malone with a rebound.
Scottie Pippen and Steve Smith are not playing very well, and the Blazers are still up by 5 points. Not a good sign for the Jazz and their fans.
In low, Karl Malone. Great looking reverse. A sweet move as he steps by Wallace for the bucket.
Hornacek has come alive here. He's moving without the ball. He's hitting jumpers, getting to the free throw line, finding Karl Malone. Now it's John Stockton's turn. They have to find some way to give John Stockton some room here. More screens in order for Utah.
Smith with a fall-away jumper, spinning away from a double team. Steve Smith has it dialed in early. 3 for 4, 7 points for Smith. And the Portland Trailblazers shooting 50% to take a 5-point lead. Where are those hard screens the Jazz camp was talking about before the game, Bill? Here's Malone inside with a triple team on him, and he's able to muscle his way to the rack for the bucket.
I haven't seen those screens. You think back about playoffs past for the Utah Jazz, it was always Stockton and Hornacek getting in there and screening against the big guys. Screening against Barkley and Akeem and Chris Webber, Shaq, Rick Fox, Drexler, all the guys. And you would find those guys going down now.
Here we go. Now Stockton with a hard foul of Greg Anthony. And that is the second foul on Stockton.
Turning that pick and roll baseline, a little bump. Greg Anthony loses his balance, but referees forced into calling that play. John Stockton angrily to the bench as both point guards, Stockton and Stoudemire, the starters, each have 2 fouls.
On the inbounds, Pippen handles. Wallace sets a hard screen and a foul on Rasheed Wallace. It is the second on the big man, Rasheed Wallace. And so Mike Dunleavy will look to his bench, and he will go to get the energizer, the Rasta Monster, Brian Grant.
So with both teams picking up early fouls to key performers, the depth for the Blazers will certainly be a significant factor here as Rasheed Wallace draws the wrath of the crowd here.
Graham will have the defensive assignment on Karl Malone. Here's Isley turning off a screen. Hornacek again. The follow-away jumper off the mark this time.
Sabonis is just dominating the defensive boards, and Polynice, Karl Malone. The Jazz are not notably a great offensive rebounding team. Foul on a step out by Polynice.
And a timeout called by the Portland Trailblazers.
Karl Malone working so hard diligently for offensive position down deep. Rasheed Wallace wise to let him go.
The Blazers lead it 21-18 with 2:46 left in the first.
CNN's
14 of 14 in this playoff series against the Jazz.
Always one of the most responsible people in the history of the NBA, Steve Smith. Now, the burden of being the man, the franchise player, no longer on him. And there's a screen that we were talking about as Isley stands in the lane, gets run over by Brian Grant, and draws the foul. Howard Isley standing in there, something that we haven't seen much of. And the guards, Stockton, Hornacek, Isley, Jacques Vaughn, all the guys, they need to take that sort of physical punishment. But Karl Malone goes to the free throw line. It was Isley that got abused.
Tomorrow night on TNT, it's doubleheader action tipping off the night. It's Game 3 between the Heat and the Knicks as this tied series heads to New York City. Game time 8 p.m. Eastern. Following that game, it's Game 3 of the Lakers and the Suns series. Last night, Kobe Bryant lifted the Lakers to the 2-0 lead in the series. But how about Shaq? 38 points, 20 rebounds in the effort. Cliff Robinson, glad to see him finally find the mark. He was 12 of 25 and had 30 points last night for the Phoenix Suns. And here's a foul called off of the missed Malone free throw.
And hopefully in that Phoenix series, Penny Hardaway is practicing his free throws because he should get 2 to start that game.
Russell heads to the free throw line. A loose ball foul called on Brian Grant. And Russell misses the free throw. Well, the Jazz have finally gotten their wish to getting to the line, but they are not converting. They are 4 of 9. Malone stood up there a moment ago. He's 1 for 4. Now Grant will come out after a very short stint of 1 minute with 2 personal fouls.
But again,
and in comes Jermaine O'Neal.
The endless depth. We spoke the other day about the money of behind this Portland Trailblazer team, just being able to purchase whoever they wanted. That wasn't always the case with the franchise. Remember in the early days when Moses Malone, inside, great defense. Moses Malone was traded because he was making $350,000 a year. Granted, it was in a different economic era.
Isley drives into the lane and tried to push it out on the wing, threw it out of bounds. The second Jazz turnover.
Moses only went on to win 4 MVPs in the NBA. Great suffocating defense. The rotation, something that we did not see from the Utah Jazz. The anticipation by Brian Russell. Perfect.
And he would have joined you, I think, prior to your championship year, wouldn't he, in '77?
He was off the team, and then they said he wasn't good enough. But
here's Anthony for 3, running short. Sabonis steps out for the rebound.
It was strictly a financial move.
What might have been that '77 team, a championship team. With Moses Malone backing down Smith. Hornacek backs off trying to get the call. Ostertag rotates out, puts Smith on his butt, and here come the Utah Jazz. Down 4 with 1.5 minutes left in the first period. Hornacek drains a jumper from the corner. Jeff Hornacek in a rhythm. 4 of 5 shooting in the quarter, 9 points.
One thing that's different for the Utah Jazz, because of foul trouble to Stockton, they've had to go back to the old-time rotation. Now it's Isley and Hornacek finishing out the first quarter, where the last 2 months of the regular season it was always Isley and Stockton. But with Hornacek getting extended minutes early, he's been able to find the range, moving beautifully without the ball, playing on one leg and all. Jeff Hornacek, one of the great shooters in the history of basketball, off to a terrific start.
We asked him after the series against the Supersonics when they won Game 5 if he was feeling good. He said, yeah, the knee is feeling great, but my shooting rhythm is off. He says, I actually was shooting the ball better when I was in pain. He said, I might take a hammer to this thing for the second series.
He's not feeling great. They just had the mentality in Utah. He's got a real rhythm here, Steve Smith does. Touching the tattoo. Wiping the brow.
How about 15 of 15 from the line thus far in the series? Steve Smith. Smitty averages in his career in playoff basketball 19 points per.
That tattoo on his right bicep that Steve Smith touches each time, that's the tattoo in honor of his mother. Very sad, but Steve's so close to her and so loyal, Steve Smith.
Isley circles off the screen, blast to the glass, and it gives it away to Pippen.
Unforced errors again.
Smith on the left side, a transition 3 up and in. Steve Smith throws an arrow right to the target. Smitty now 4 of 6, 14 first quarter points. A minute left, and the Blazers have rolled out to a 7-point lead.
2 for 1 time for Utah right now. Cross screen for Karl Malone by Hornacek. Shoot it 40, you'll get the last shot yourself.
Here's Hornacek. Nice pass in low. Malone twists to the double team, and he's fouled. So the mailman goes to the line again.
Howard Isley can't get anything going, so he just throws it away. Never jump in the air to throw a pass back out, particularly cross court. That leads to transition opportunities. Steve Smith, he'll make the most of that.
Karl Malone, if you look at his career numbers, gets about 12 free throws a game throughout the course of his career. That is phenomenal.
And he's a very successful entrepreneur off the court. He just purchased 10 outdoor recreation stores in 9 states. Calls the new company Malone Outfitters, bringing his love for the outdoors to communities all over the country, ranging from Indiana to Pennsylvania, Arizona, Minnesota, Louisiana, Georgia. All the stuff Karl wears when he goes out pursuing his dreams of hunting, fishing, and his love for the outdoors. Malone Outfitters.
Quite a plug there, Bill. That should be good for some camo gear. In low, Sabonis with a sweeping hook up and in. Arvydas Sabonis with a half dozen, along with 4 rebounds. The Blazers on top by 7 with 24 seconds left in the first quarter. Here's Isley across midcourt. Cross screen set by Hornacek. Malone trying to get to the ball. He'll set a screen or attempt to. Pippen rotates out on Hornacek.
Hornacek looks 200% better if that's possible.
Hornacek with a lob hook on the run. Loose ball foul.
Sabonis can't believe this call. Dunleavy's up off the bench, irate. This is incredible what has happened as the Blazers are getting pushed around underneath the basket. Dunleavy looking for help along the long list of reserves that he does have. Now 2 personal. So you got Stoudemire with 2, Rasheed Wallace with 2, Brian Grant with 2, Sabonis with 2. They come to Detlef Schrempf. Does the list ever end for Dunleavy?
Sync TV is here. This unique enhancement provides fans with real-time stats, polls, and news, and the ability to interact with the studio guest and other fans online. Log on now to NBA.com or TNT.com to enhance your television viewing experience.
I checked it out last night, waiting for the game, watching Turner and Vesey and Kenny Smith and Silas and Ernie in the studio. That's a terrific addition. The ability to get more information, the information that you want.
6 seconds remaining in the period. Off the Ostertag miss. Here comes Smith up the floor. He's hit 2 for 3 from 3 range. He's inside the line there when he lets it fly, and he walks with the basketball. Jazz will take it with 4/10 of a second remaining. The Blazers leading by 7, 30-23.
3 turnovers on the night for the Portland Trail Blazers.
Here's the inbounds, broken up, and that will end the first quarter. So the Blazers follow the same script that they set in games 1 and 2, where they led in both games by 8 points after the break. And here at the end of 1 in Utah, the Blazers off to a good start at 30-23. We'll return with more.
Find some sort of offensive force. Armin Gilliam and Quincy Lewis will be asked to answer that call.
Utah got to the line in the first quarter just as they wanted, but in 14 attempts, they hit 7 shots. This is a 78% shooting free throw team and ranked number 3 in the league this year during the course of the regular season. Armin Gilliam in the lineup gets the Jazz off to a good start here in the opening 30 seconds, pulling them to within 5. Anthony trying to answer on the blast to the baseline. The shot is short, batted out of bounds. It will be Portland basketball. Let's head over courtside now and D-line them.
Evan, you pointed out the free throws that Utah missed, and that's exactly what Jerry Sloan said in the huddle in between quarters. He said 7 missed free throws and 5 turnovers is the difference in the quarter. He said toughen up our defense, play hard, but you also have to play smart.
Greg Anthony cranks a 3-pointer from the point on the inbounds pass. That hurts when you give up a 3-point look on an inbounds play, and the Blazers lead here 33-25.
Such a key performer, Greg Anthony. A leader, a clutch shooter. A guy playing through very painful injuries right now. Armin Gilliam takes steps ignored by the officials.
Ostertag in a tip match, volleys the ball in the corner. He stumbles out of bounds, and a loose ball foul called on the Portland Trail Blazers. If it's on Grant, it will be his 3rd.
Brian Grant just cannot get on track. And the extra effort by Ostertag, the persistence, playing a la Dennis Rodman, the pogo stick, jumping up and down, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th effort. John Stockton gets up, and with Jeff Hornacek, they applaud the resilience of persistence, and Brian Grant can only shake his head in frustration, dismay, embarrassment as he goes to the bench. And Jermaine O'Neal back in.
Bonzi Wells has stepped in for the Blazers as well. He had 17 points in game 2. Stockton throws over to Isley, running out at him. Smith. Rebound, Ostertag in deep. Tosses to Stockton at the top of the key. Gilliam's wide open. O'Neal closing out. In and out. Rebound.
Ostertag.
Lewis.
Look at Ostertag dominating here. Hand on every ball.
Let's don't get carried away.
No, and then when Ostertag starts playing like that, it changes everything for Utah.
Bonzi across the middle, and a foul.
Pass off, and Bonzi Wells, just an incredible find here for the Portland Trail Blazers. Bob Whitsitt, the man putting the roster together. The foul trouble really stacking up for Portland. The Jazz playing at home. Stockton with 2. He can deal with that. Karl Malone back in, and Armin Gilliam, not much of a chance. He looked like he was playing pretty well.
They'll post Wells on the 6'3" Isley. Bonzi at 6'5" and very powerful. Look at that beautiful post move. Off the box, he banks it in, and the Blazers now have a 10-point lead.
Bonzi Wells got his name. His mom, Christine, his mom was one of 18 kids herself. She had 6, but Bonzi, when he was in the tummy there, she had a craving for bonbons, and that's how he got the name Bonzi.
His given name is Gowin D'Angelo Wells from Muncie, Indiana.
What was that name again?
Gowin D'Angelo Wells.
Bonzi.
I like D'Angelo. That's good.
Bonzi.
All right, whatever. 10-point Blazer lead.
Bob McAdoo down the stretch to keep the team fresh. The Jazz have not been able to do that. Now, they've gone after guys. Karl Malone makes the first of 2, but they've gone after Sam Perkins. He turned him down. He's now starring for Indiana. Big game for Sam last night. Cycli, he just refused to even come here. He said, no way, he's retired. Derek Harper didn't want any part of it. And then Shannon Anderson turned down a ton of money to leave on his own. So it's been very tough to add the new firepower, the fresh blood, to support the aging superstars, Stockton and Malone.
And this is not a lottery team. They have been in the playoffs 17 straight years, so they don't get the high picks. Here's Quincy Lewis, a rookie out of Minnesota, in the lineup now. Scott Padgett, you'll see him later on tonight. Lewis was one of 3 first-round draft choices by the Utah Jazz this year, but none of them were high picks. Lewis could develop into being a nice ball player. There's been a question in the Utah camp, Bill, about the wisdom of not playing these young players early in the season so that by playoff time they're ready for this experience. Here's Wells. Great post move again, this time on the left block, and just using Isley in back-to-back possessions.
But Kevin, that's a faulty argument, because Utah, they're playing for home court advantage from opening day. They have to win every single game. And these young guys weren't ready. Stockton, another unforced turnover. 4 turnovers now for the Jazz as a team.
They had 17 in game 2, and 6 of those the Jazz staff figured were unforced turnovers. Blazers by 10, 37-27, 9:18 to go here in the second quarter.
The worst part of those 17 turnovers was that it led to 27 points for the Trailblazers. The Blazers turned it over themselves in game 2 at 18 times, but that only led to 11 points, so the Jazz not converting when the Blazers do turn it over.
Now Russell on the post defense. Wells says, forget about it. I'm going to make contact, go to the baseline, and hit the fall-away hopper. Bonzi Wells, the 11th pick in the draft 2 years ago. He might as well be a rookie because he didn't play a lot last year during the lockout season. And, of course, that was a tough situation for rookies in this league. You couldn't practice 50 games in 90 days. Russell misses the 3. Wells with a rebound. Look at the quick outlet to Pippen in front court.
Brian Russell continues his struggles. The frustration is just mounting here with Brian's play. An emerging star, Russell, but just not able to deliver. And Bonzi Wells is torching him right here.
Right here.
He talked about him growing up in Muncie, Indiana. Still be sidelined out of ball or out of bounds. Jerry Sloan trying to ponder what kind of defense will work against this star, whose headband is obviously not too tight at all. He grew up in a very structured family. He has the biggest extended family in the entire city of Muncie, Indiana. He grew up across the street from the church, where his whole family were involved in the ministry there at the church.
And down the street was Ray McCallum, his college coach at Ball State. That's why I went to Ball State in his hometown rather than getting away to Notre Dame or Purdue or Indiana University, one of the other big basketball factories. 22nd timeout called. It's interesting to continue the point on Wells. He is 24 hours short of graduating from Ball State. Ray McCallum has called him, his college coach, and is trying to get him to come back and get the required hours so that he can graduate and have his number retired at Ball State, because McCallum's number is the only basketball number retired there at Ball State, the Cardinal program.
These young players who often don't finish college, some of them don't even go to college. The turnover story tonight, though, this was from game 2, where the Blazers really were terrific in converting points off turnovers. The Jazz frustrated, never got any sort of transition game tonight. But the points off turnovers tonight, the Blazers again at least doubling up the Utah Jazz.
Blazers by 12. They go to Wells again. Back to the well, the follow-away jumper rimming. Stockton knew I was going there. Stockton with a rebound.
That is a difficult shot. Maybe bordering on a heat check for Bonzi Wells.
Malone's in deep. Turns, trying to get the call, and he got it. He'll go to the line for 2. The foul is on Jermaine O'Neal.
Karl Malone who is 36 years old right now, is the third leading scorer in the history of the NBA. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the leader. Karl Malone's comparison from first round to this series, a dramatic drop-off. Now, granted, you've got the leg injury that he's playing with, the sprained knee. But you're also talking about a better front line, a deeper front line, more physical front line. Portland versus the Seattle Sonics.
Bill, Saturday on NBC, the Pacers look to close out their series against the Sixers. It's Game 4. Showtime kicks off at 3 p.m. Travis Best with 19 big ones for the Pacers last night. Jalen Rose finally cooled down. He had a dozen. O'Neal will step out. Rasheed Wallace will step in now for the Blazers.
In that Indiana game, there's Karl Malone's mother, who's here watching. She's been spending most of the spring here in the beautiful Wasatch Valley, enjoying great basketball. But Indiana, for the Indiana Phillies series, Larry Brown, he's done what Jerry Sloan has done. He's called his players out. He said, hey, are you guys going to play or what? Are you going to sit there and count your money and listen to your supporters, or are you going to come out and do something on the basketball court? Detlef Schrempf earned a trip to the line.
Schrempf finds the body of Ostertag. Malone now at the free throw line just a moment ago. 7 of 10 for the ball game. He has 11 points. And the Blazers right now settling into a nice half-court groove. They lead by 10 with 7:48 to go in the second period.
10 free throws already for Karl Malone?
Yeah, and the Jazz, Bill, are 11 of 18, 61%.
Shades of the Miami Heat.
What Vesey called it, caveman shooting.
Oh, brutal.
Schrempf with a free throw up and in. You take a look at the contrast from last year's Portland ball club to this year's club. I mean, you get Steve Smith, just a class individual, 19 points per ball game, his playoff career average, and the Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award winner for J.R. Ryder. It starts there. And then you add Detlef Schrempf.
And then you add Scottie Pippen. Just getting rid of Isaiah Ryder by itself was a positive step. And then you come and you add Detlef, Scottie Pippen, and Steve Smith. And you're talking about three of the great character type people in basketball today.
Blazers by 12, 7.5 minutes to go in this first half. Quincy Lewis led the Big Ten in scoring in Minnesota his senior year. Over to Stockton, driving in, running right-hander up and off the mark. Good defense by Anthony. Loose ball. Stockton tried to save it, but batted out of bounds by Rasheed Wallace. Utah ball.
John Stockton continues to struggle, as does Brian Russell. Brian Russell 0 for 2. Hasn't done much of anything.
Good move on the inbounds.
Nice
Lewis.
defense, Detlef Schrempf.
Wells on the break to Pippen for the finish.
Scottie Pippen's first basket of the night, 1 for 3, 14-point lead. So there's no need for Scottie Pippen to get aggressive on the offensive end.
Malone works the high post now in the matchup with Detlef Schrempf. Malone will screen, then slip the pick. Stockton can't find him. In low to Russell, makes contact, knocks Pippen down and scores.
So now both Brian Russell and Scottie Pippen have 1 field goal on 3-shot attempt. Beautiful.
Oh, who's wide open? Rasheed is wide open, while 5 Jazz stand in the paint.
And something you'll rarely hear at the Delta Center. Boos for the home team. That's forces Jerry Sloan to call a quick timeout. Falling apart for the Jazz here. Bonzi Wells, everybody thinking he's just going to shoot. Rasheed Wallace slips to the basket. Blazers by 14 big points. Malone, Olden, Polys, they're over here. They're watching the post-up attack here. They're not seeing, though, their men. You have to see man and ball. They're just riveted on Bonzi Wells, ready to help out Jeff Hornacek, and that allows Rasheed Wallace a wide-open slip. Inexcusable. Maintain contact, if not physical, at least visual. Field goal shooting. Blazers scorching. The Utah Jazz frigid, like the day here when the snow, the hail was falling.
It was a bleak day, wasn't it? 6 of 8 shooting for the Blazers in the quarter, and the Utah Jazz have answered with just 2 for 7, 29% here in their own building. The Jazz have turned it over 5 times, and Portland has converted for 7 points off turnovers.
first half struggles continue for the Jazz. Oh, a turnover.
Another one. The 6th of the ball game, and again, an unforced turnover.
And
here's Pippen in the front court.
Has John Stockton ever been booed on this court? There's some a smattering of boos there.
I've never seen him throw 3 passes away as he has here in the first half. Never. That's how good the Blazer defense has been. They have been confounding. To the baseline, Wells looking to move as he sweeps right by Hornacek as if it were an open door. Bonzi, Wells again with a nice move. Stockton into the lane, throws another pass away. He's insisting it was deflected, but it's the 7th turnover.
Portland substitution.
Not a pretty scene here for one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. The new changing NBA, though, is all about Bonzi Wells and the headband and this fine young man from Muncie, Indiana.
Well, Utah hasn't tonight given Hornacek any help. They haven't rotated anyone over there to help Hornacek in the matchup. Whether it be Smith, Pippen, or Wells right now, just embarrassing him. Look at the back cut. Trying to pack it. Wells trying to pack it on Olden Polynice, and a foul call.
Flagrant foul. Olden Polynice, who comes hard from the weak side. The frustration boiling over for the Utah Jazz as Olden Polynice tries to take things in his own hand. We knew there would be a physical response. Hornacek, who gets burned backdoor, he tries to deny possession. The referee is quick to that flagrant foul call. The better you get, the harder you're going to get hit at the basket area. Bonzi Wells getting a true taste of NBA playoff basketball. 3 fouls on Olden Polynice, and he's going to go to the bench.
Well, Detroit had just done a big deal with Jerry Stackhouse. They felt like they had a surplus of guards. They were trying to get Leitner on board. They needed some room. So, as you mentioned, Bob Whitsitt stepped into the void. Hey, I'll do you a favor. How about for conditional pick, which turned out to be one of the lowest picks in '99. Turned out to be Jermaine Jones, I believe, who was on the inactive roster with Philadelphia. And here comes Wells to Portland. And look at this talent. They're going to go right back to him.
And this is the sign of a good team. Milk the team. Milk the guy's got the high end. Offensive foul called on Bonzi Wells. Finally a break for the Jazz. That brings a rare sound tonight. A cheer, some applause. But you have to realize you can never have too many good players. And that's what Whitsitt, that's what Paul Allen, Harry Hutz, Mike Dunleavy, all the guys who run the Blazers have committed to. Foul on Detlef Schrempf, who has no chance of guarding Karl Malone at the post. No chance.
Malone stripped and fouled, and Malone heads to the line now for the 11th and 12th free throw attempts of this first half. He has hit 7 for 10. The Jazz 11 of 18, 61%. The Blazers have jumped out on the Jazz 48-31. With 5.5 minutes to go in this first half.
With Karl Malone at the line, his 15th season old. Wilt Chamberlain, who's just a couple hundred points ahead of him, played only 14 seasons. First one brick for Karl.
Tomorrow night on TNT, it's doubleheader action. Tipping off the night is Game 3 between the Heat and the Knicks as the series is tied and it heads to New York. Game time 8 p.m. Following that, Game 3 of the Lakers and the Suns. Kobe hitting the game winner last night to lift the Lakers to the 2-0 lead against the Phoenix Suns. And Luke Longley last night, 2 for 11. Rodney Rogers, 3 for 11.
Well, there are some signs for Phoenix that they can maybe come and win a game, but they're going to have to get the same production out of Robinson and out of Penny, get better out of Jason Kidd, and then hope Longley and Rodney Rogers can make some shots.
Wallace goes up and under with a spin move.
Count it.
Count the bucket, and I think a foul as well, Bill.
Oh, goaltending. Foolish play from the weak side for the Jazz, who one of the rare times ever have I seen them lose their composure up here.
Foul on Ostertag, and Rasheed Wallace steps to the line. An 11-3 Blazer run on the goaltending call against Russell. And the Blazers now getting to the line. They are 10 of 11 in the early going.
It's a 19-point lead. Bonzi Wells has sparked it. Rasheed Wallace taking Karl Malone out early. Only thing keeping Utah in the game is the Blazers' foul trouble.
Down low, Malone in deep. Missing the shot. Wallace with the rebound. The outlet pass. Here's Pippen pushing it up the floor. Shovels to Schrempf. Secondary break. Pull-up jumper good. Mid-range jumper on the move. A veteran like Schrempf makes it look easy.
Beautiful basketball. Scottie Pippen not even concerned by stats whatsoever. Exquisite display of championship level basketball. The cross screen earns a foul for the Jazz and another trip to the line for Karl Malone. How many free throw attempts for Karl?
Well, he's got a dozen so far.
He's already taken 12. This will be 14, but the working without the ball, struggling through. Hard to see where that foul would be on Detlef Schrempf. He was just sort of standing there, and people just kept coming and running up to him. Wandered a lot of opportunities, particularly after they had the tough loss February 29th at home to the Lakers, and then they went into that 25-game stretch where they were a 500 ball club. But right now, everything happening. And Scottie Pippen's got a lot to do with that.
In low, Rasheed Wallace, drop step going lefty with a sweeping hook, air ball. Stockton has numbers.
But again, back and they get nothing out of it but a long three.
And Hornacek drains it. And the faithful come alive here at the Delta Center. So it's a 16-point Blazer lead with 4 minutes left in the first half.
I've come back to Bonzi Wells here. He's been torching who's ever guarded him. It's the first three-pointer of the night for the Utah Jazz.
He bounces off a screen, open jumper, and air ball. Here the Jazz. Stockton holding that ball in his holster and then hands off to Hornacek, wing left.
The Blazer transition defense has been remarkable. A traveling violation.
Schrempf did an excellent job that time, Bill, to hold position.
8 turnovers here for the Utah Jazz. Detlef Schrempf is never going to be confused with somebody on the all-league defensive team, but he is a terrific team defensive player, a very smart, very crafty guy. Tricked Karl Malone that time into losing his balance.
Stoudemire at the point, pressured by Stockton. They're going to bring Wallace to the ball. He's checked by Ostertag. Stockton with a rebound. Once again, the Blazers pedal back to fill the passing lanes.
Blazers are coming a little bit of a low right here. Offensive foul as Karl Malone throws Detlef Schrempf to the ground. Another turnover. 2 fouls on Karl Malone. 9 turnovers on the night. Detlef Schrempf with great position. Karl Malone just levels him. It didn't even give him a gift certificate to Malone Outfitters. I can't believe that.
Stoudemire out there now with Steve Smith, Detlef Schrempf, Scottie Pippen, and Rasheed Wallace. Sounds like a summer all-star team. Here's Smith coming off a Wallace screen. Hesitates at the top. Stoudemire tried to shake Stockton. 5 to shoot. Damon outside the 3-ring. Stripped of the ball. Here's Johnny across midcourt. Wallace closing in on it. The shovel pass to Russell. Count the bucket. He is fouled, and Russell will go to the line.
Mike Dunleavy says enough. We've lost our hot streak. Things are slipping away a little bit because of the incredible capabilities of John Stockton. Runs the fast break perfectly. Rasheed Wallace tries to get out of the way and still gives up the three-point play. He's got 3 fouls, Wallace. With a collision course with the red-hot Portland Trailblazers, but right now the Utah Jazz showing some signs.
Utah's on an 8-0 run, Bill. They pulled it within 13. Smith, who was hot in the first quarter. Airborne for a 3 with Hornacek on it. Skims off the rim. Grabbed by Malone. Here come the Jazz.
You can't stand on the perimeter. Oh, Hornacek. Why not?
Hornacek with a 3-pointer. It was Hornacek that got off to the good start in the first frame. He's hit 6 of 8 now. That's 15 points for the contest. And the Utah Jazz on an 11-0 campaign have pulled it within 10. This is Stoudemire. Hammered by Ostertag. Lost the grip. It goes off the Jazz out of bounds.
And for the first time tonight, because of Stockton's ability to set up Jeff Hornacek right here to knock down this 3, the Jazz fans, they do believe. There was a sense of hesitation. Detlef Schrempf tries to answer and does put the crowd back in their seats.
Jazz have upped the tempo here. Trail by 12, making it a game with 1:50 to play in the half. Russell in deep. Score the bucket as he had Pippen locked up beneath the cylinder.
Beautiful, perfect post-entry pass by Stockton. And Brian Russell has come alive now. So Hornacek, Russell, Karl Malone getting it done at the free throw line, and John Stockton finding guys in rhythm for good shots. The Jazz have found their game.
Smith rotates the ball to Pippen. He'll attempt a 3. That is short. The Blazers are settling for perimeter jump shots early on the shot clock, Bill, and that has allowed Utah to run out.
Now come to Karl Malone right here. Get back to the free throw line.
Hornacek with a cute move off the screen, trying to draw the contact. Did no whistle. Malone with a putback up and in. The mailman answers.
Kevin, you mentioned the Blazers not going inside, not getting to the hoop. Karl Malone by himself has taken more free throw attempts than the entire Blazer team as Sabonis gets it stripped.
Here comes Malone feeding to Stockton. 3-on-3. Malone trips, rights himself, gets the ball and hands to Stockton in the corner. 16 to shoot. 39 seconds left in the first half. Karl maneuvers to beneath the rim, and he is fouled as the ball was entered to him by Detlef Schrempf. And now the Blazers are clearly rattled by this outburst of the Jazz, who they have led by as many as 21 in the quarter.
Well, the turnaround here, fueled by the fact that the Jazz are playing much better defense. They're knocking down threes, and they're getting to the free throw line. The way you control tempo, dominate the boards, which they've done, the Jazz, lately. Get to the free throw line. Give your fans a chance to yell and scream, and that's what's happening.
Coming up on AT&T Halftime Report, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, joined by
Rookies to be co-rookies of the year following Jeff Petrie, Dave Cowens, and Grant Hill and Jason Kidd.
18 points for Malone, and the Jazz have come back to within 6. Unbelievable. Pippen for a 3 missing. Rebound deflected, grabbed by Steve Smith.
Last shot time for the Blazers. Bring it out, run the clock down.
A 17-2 Utah run to pull within 6 points. 9 seconds left. King in low. Here's Sabonis across the middle. Stripped by Malone. Stockton will hold. That will end the half. He loops it up. That would have counted had it gone. It hit the back rim and bounds out. Blazers here in very, very short period of time. A 17-2 run. 21 back to pull to within 55-49. Down 6 at half. Pops out, finds a gap. He's got an opening, and he drains a 15-footer. And the Jazz, the Blazers open up that door, and the Jazz have just come bursting through.
You had to establish that game. We're going with Steve Smith against Hornacek.
Well, a quarter and a half anyway. They could do quite well. Post the Jazz. Here's Stockton. Settle for a Sabonis jumper with 1 on the shot clock that grazes the iron. The rebound, and here come the Jazz, leading by, or actually trailing by 4.
All the things that the Blazers were doing that got them that commanding lead now just disappeared, and they're giving up layups.
What happened to the defense? Cutting off the post, a wide open lay-in for Jeff Hornacek, playing with 1 good leg, and the Jazz are within 2.
And now the work ethic that the Jazz are known for starting to pay off. It's the Blazers who are standing around looking dazed and confused.
Jazz on a 21-2 run. Here's Sabonis out of the corner. And finally, he quiets the uprising with a jumper.
Sabonis playing on a very sore right ankle. Blazer trainer Jay Jensen working with him over the last 48 hours, trying to get him better. He tweaked it there in the game 2 at Portland Tuesday night.
Malone with a handoff to Stockton, and a whistle foul called on Damon Stoudemire of the Portland Trail Blazers.
Third foul now on Stoudemire as foul trouble was plaguing the entire Blazer roster. Malone and Russell in this series have not produced. Tonight they have, though, already surpassed what they have averaged together. Stockton to beat the shot clock.
Running out. Trying to beat Hornacek in the open floor. Tripped up. Hornacek reaching in.
That's a very tough foul there. Scottie Pippen landed on his knees after he gets upended. Coming down the court in transition, as graceful a player who has ever played here. I think Scottie might have tripped himself there as he tried to go laterally.
Now the Blazers run the offense through Pippen. He'll enter it to Rasheed Wallace. 14 to shoot.
Everything fading away now. Karl Malone
Nice defense by Malone. Wallace off balance. Russell with a rebound.
Malone in transition. He's got Sabonis. Sabonis not quick enough to stay with Carl.
Polynice, Stoudemire, or I should say Sabonis with a rebound, and Malone as an afterthought reaches in and jabs Sabonis in the eye. Foul called on Malone. That's his third.
The Utah Jazz telling us that they're going to come out and be much more physical as they have just putting some bodies on people here. A flagrant. You made the appropriate comment, though, with Olden Polynice that at least he caught the ball. And that's a good sign. It's a good first step for Olden.
Blazers now again run the offense through Pippen. They go to Wallace in deep this time, but he can't finish. He had the step on Malone. Here's a loose ball. Bill Walton picks it off. It'll be Blazer basketball. Good hands.
Steve Smith has not scored since the first quarter. Rasheed Wallace had most of his points in the first quarter. He had 8 of his 13, Rasheed Wallace, in the first.
Stoudemire just giving it to Pippen and then going to the weak side. And again, they go two-man play. Pippen with Smith this time. Smith trying to step through a double team, is tripped up and fouled.
That is outstanding offensive execution by Steve Smith. Hornacek with the foul, his second, but with Steve Smith just stepping right through the closeout defense of Hornacek, the foul had to be called. Now they're coming right back to Smith.
Blazers by 4. 9 minutes left here in the third quarter. Sabonis. A bad pass broken up by Hornacek as Polynice and Stockton running with it. Hornacek trying to sneak to the baseline. And a foul called. Reaching in with Steve Smith.
2 fouls on Steve Smith. Mike Dunleavy concerned about the lack of aggressive ball. Scotty's ability to draw the double team down low and pass out of it. And very little elevation.
And again, Pippen runs the point. This time, they try to rotate it with Stoudemire at the top. They bring it back down on the left side. Wallace operating 3 to shoot. Checks the clock. Follow-away jumper. No.
Getting fouled with Karl Malone with 4 fouls. Drive to the hoop.
Olden Polynice. You bet. No rotation on that ball. He sends down a knuckler from 15 feet. The Jazz are back within 4.
David Stoudemire, who completely outplayed John Stockton in Portland, not had success tonight. Scottie Pippen, wild foray.
Pippen upended. The Jazz run out. Russell attacks the rack. Couldn't finish. Blocked by Russell. Polynice will twirl it right back up and in. And the Jazz trailing by 21, seemingly dead at home midway through the second quarter, have rallied to pull within 2.
Look at this. There are so many choices, but what if you had none? That's a problem for many communities. Allen Iverson recognizes the need for choices.
Everything okay at home?
He works with an evening basketball program that offers neighborhood kids a positive place to go.
Hey, get up the court, get up the court, get up the court. Go.
This gives them the opportunity to make the right choice. Team up to improve your community.
Harvey. Hey, Ted.
That was my last one.
Moving on, guys. He's dry.
Woo! For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
Eat it.
Make it a Bud Light.
Right now, when you choose from the lowest price minivan to the ultimate, you can get $1,500 to $1,750 cash allowance. Or 1.9 financing on a new Chrysler Town & Country. And the popular Voyager. Now get $1,500 to $1,750 cash allowance or 1.9 financing on all new minivans at your Chrysler and Plymouth dealer today.
Working for a big company was not for me, so I took a risk and started Mad River Boat Trips. Fortunately, I made some smart decisions early on, like hooking up with the small business group at American Express. These guys really know what we need. They helped us figure out easier ways to pay for inventory. And now when we buy things online with the card, it's never been safer. You know, I couldn't work for a big company, but I don't mind having a big company work for me.
What can we do for your business? Call 1-800-SUCCESS.
The home court advantage generally translates into role players playing much, much better at home. Olden Polynice, who was a disaster over in Portland, has come alive here with 2 baskets, and now he's leading the cheers. The dance step by Olden Polynice, and the Jazz man, one of the NBA's finest, a loyalist who travels around the globe following his beloved Utah Jazz. He still believes that they shall, yes, indeed, overcome.
Well, they have chopped a 21-point lead down to 2. Blazer basketball. This is Steve Smith with 10 to shoot. Under duress. That one ticks the iron, and the Jazz again run out.
Hornacek able to limit the footwork of Steve Smith that time, forcing him into a horrendous shot.
Hornacek blows by Pip and finds Malone planted outside for the tie. 59-59. 6:22 left in the third quarter, and we've got a ball game.
We've got a series. This game goes to Utah. Now it's a very difficult road to climb for the Blazers, who are just off in every aspect of their game now.
Stoudemire kind of dribbling aimlessly, finds a seam this time and lays it up and in.
But it's the Jazz who are playing the quicker game right now. They have gotten the energy from their fans. Hornacek is gliding and driving. Stockton getting layups.
What a pass by Hornacek over the top. Sensational play. 61-61 count.
On the UCLA high cut. Split there by John Stockton. Hornacek, an exquisite passer from the wing.
Now they run the offense through Pippen. Stoudemire will enter Sabonis, the sweeping hook. Now the Jazz have a chance to take the lead. They last led 5-2. 5:15 to play in the third, and the Jazz are poised to take the lead. Hornacek running. Polynice, will he do it? No.
Oh, should have gone to the bank shot there. After that 5-2 lead, 5-3 lead, the Jazz fell behind by 21 points. Now they still trail by 2.
Pippen just 2 for 7, 4 points and 5 rebounds.
Sabonis out to trap wildly, ill-advisedly too.
He's tried to hand off to Malone, jabbed away. Here's Hornacek now. Into the lane, a whistle as he went airborne. It's on Rasheed Wallace. That's the 4th on Wallace. Let's go to D. Lynam courtside here at the Delta Center.
Well, Kevin, Mike Dunleavy's stressing to his guys, hey, we helped them start their run by settling for jumpers. Didn't like that they continued that when they started the second half. He also would like them to shore up the paint. He said we need to reestablish the defensive presence that got us to this point.
That foul a moment ago was assessed to Scottie Pippen, which came as good news to Mike Dunleavy. Rasheed Wallace playing with 3 fouls.
But it's sure a sign that things have turned around for the Utah Jazz. If Hornacek games 1 and 2, not much at all in limited minutes tonight. He's got 18 points already on great shooting. But coming into tonight's game, the second best player for the Jazz in the entire series had been Jacques Vaughn.
Yep.
He hasn't even gotten into the lineup tonight. Russell, Hornacek, all coming alive. Even Olden Polynice.
Sabonis in deep, lays it up and in, and now the Jazz getting pounded in the paint by Arvydas Sabonis. The Blazers lead is a deuce. 4:15 to play in the third quarter. 49% shooting for the game for the Blazers, 47% for the Jazz.
Beautiful pass, Stockton.
Stockton with a bullet pass, and Malone with a follow-away jumper. Now Malone is in some rhythm. 24 points, 8 rebounds for Malone, who started this year's playoffs in Game 1 against Seattle with 50 points.
Stockton's ability to deliver the pass off the dribble without touching it with his offhand, incredible.
Smith backs off Hornacek with the elbow and lays it up and in on a fine post move.
The Jazz have come to play more physical, and they have to accept the Blazers responding. You can't have it all your way.
Smith has 16. Jazz open up the floor. One-on-one. Russell on Smith. Isolated. Russell has it hammered away. Stockton there to get it. 3 to shoot. Malone rolling. He'll touch. He'll shoot. He's slammed to the floor by Smith. Smith glares at Malone. Meantime, the Jazz head up the floor defensively, but it's Wallace beating him to the rack for the lay-in. And the foul.
There's been a number of times tonight when Karl Malone has been tangled up with players. Jerry Sloan out of the court to separate Karl Malone from referee Ken Mauer. The tie-up, though, Karl Malone takes a jumper to beat the shot clock. Steve Smith and Sabonis right there. The tangle-up right in front of where Greg Anthony got into it last year with
the owner,
Jazz owner Larry Miller. But it's Rasheed Wallace now at the free throw line.
Wallace having a super evening. 17 points and 7 rebounds for the big man out of North Carolina.
But the control, which was all Rasheed Wallace in games 1 and 2, has shifted to Karl Malone here. And that's great news for the Utah Jazz.
Malone with his 9th rebound. Blazers on top by 3 minutes to go, third quarter. Russell trapped on the in-line and a whistle.
Foul on Rasheed Wallace. 4 on Wallace now with Brian Grant already in foul trouble. Mike Dunleavy in a world of hurt.
And Wallace strolls over to the Blazer bench. You can see him talking to Jack Nees. Keep in mind, Wallace set a record this year in the NBA with 38 technical fouls, or rather dubious honor. He has had 4 technicals thus far in the playoffs.
Foul trouble tonight. Brian Grant with 3 in very limited minutes. Good defensive job that time by Grant on Karl Malone.
Ostertag is in for the Jazz. Grant is in for the Blazers. Stoudemire to the baseline. No go. Grant.
That's Brian Grant's game. That's what he can do to bring his team back into control. And Hornacek called for the poke-away foul. 3rd foul on Hornacek. But with Rasheed Wallace, you talked about the technicals he's had. He has been the model citizen tonight. Not even a single grimace. The Blazers holding tenuously to what was once a commanding lead. Now it's 4. Game 1 of last year's playoff second-round battle. Brian Grant gets fouled Karl's elbow with his mouth.
Which is a difficult proposition. Smith now 6 of 6 from the line, and for the series, a perfect 18 for 18. Now here's Isley swinging it right side to Hornacek. Looking low for Malone on the block. He and Grant are paddling. Couple of gladiators outside to Russell. That one horseshoes out, and Pippen chases it down.
I think he has to think about getting aggressive on the offensive end here. Maybe a slash to the hoop. A 3-pointer in transition. Give his team the confidence. And a little bit of unsettling moments here for the Blazers.
He had just 5 points and 4 field goal attempts, 23 minutes in game 2, but they didn't need him. Here's Smith inside to Sabonis. And again, the big man makes the Jazz pay the toll.
How great for Steve Smith to finally get with some teammates who can really play. Steve Smith, who had the burden coming out of Michigan State of being the next Magic Johnson. That wasn't to be as he tore up his knee. Isley can't answer.
Sabonis outlets to Stoudemire. Here's out on the wing. 18 to shoot, 1:31 left here in this third period. Brian Grant in deep. Look at the great spin move, but unaccustomed to being that open. He juggles it out of bounds.
Unaccustomed to playing healthy basketball. He gets the ball in the low post. There's a man who's been plagued all season by injuries. He had a very severe knee surgery in the offseason. He's thinking he's going to make an automatic recovery. He's got a 6-inch long scar across that kneecap. We had to do a lot of bone work on Brian's knee.
Oh, Stoudemire. Slammed by Malone. Malone goes down, and there's a whistle inside.
They got to call this on Stoudemire. Sending Karl Malone to the line where it has been a total parade here. This is a beautiful play by Howard Isley. Run your man right into Karl Malone. That's going to free you up. Plus, as in this instance, sent Karl Malone doing parade to the free throw line has allowed the Jazz to gain control, allowed the fans to get excited. Bringing superior performances to the role players with that energy provided by the fans.
Blazers go back to the old dependable, the post up on Hornacek, but they bring Ostertag to double it, leaving Sabonis open, and he will make you pay with the long jump shot. Arvydas has hit 7 of 10, has 14 points, and he has scored 8 of them here in this third quarter, and the Blazers maintain the 8-point lead.
The strength of the upper body by Sabonis. Remarkable that he can accomplish anything. Hornacek unable to get a difficult shot to go. The Blazers maintain their comfortable 8-point lead here as they go to the end of the third with the last shot attempt.
Greg Anthony in the lineup, much as they do at Indiana with Mark Jackson and Travis Best. The Blazers like to split time between 2 fine point guards, Greg Anthony and Damon Stoudemire. Out on the wing, Smith off the Sabonis screen. He decks Hornacek in deep. Brian Grant hurried the hook, follows his miss, blocked by Ostertag. Outlet pass to Isley. He'll check the clock. 9 left in the quarter.
Ostertag making his presence felt.
Here's Russell for a 3. Got it. Brian Russell with a big-time bomb there to pull the Jazz within 5. But Scotty's at midcourt, and he'll get off a shot. Good if it goes.
Oh,
and it nearly did.
That looked good.
At the end of 3, the score, the Blazers 75 and the Jazz 70. We'll return to the Delta Center for the run to the wire here in Game 3 in a moment.
The Jazz have stayed in it by getting to the free throw line 29 times and shooting a very solid percentage, excuse me.
In the third quarter, Bill, Karl Malone led the Jazz with 8 points. Sabonis had 8 of his 14 in the third period. Here's Scottie Pippen now to again start up the offense for the Blazers, leading by 5 with possession. To begin the period, Smith across the middle, drew a crowd, and a foul called. Stockton comes down, and it might have got a finger or a hand in the eye.
That's the way Marcus Camby got poked in the eye in the Miami-New York series. John Stockton comes shaking this one off. Blazer ball out of bounds. Scottie Pippen to inbound.
Smith is checked by Isley, and they immediately go to the mismatch. 11 to shoot for Smitty. Sabonis with a set shot. Oh, he's been outstanding tonight. Sabonis has hit 8 for 11. 16 points. 7 rebounds for the veteran.
The Blazers won here late in the regular season, when the Jazz had a chance to catch the Blazers for what would have been home court advantage. The Blazers know all about success here.
Grant denied that.
Beautiful.
Pass. Pippen looks off defenders. Ostertag recovers to get a piece of the shot.
Hard to see how Scotty missed that wide open layup.
Grant defends the post. Malone will maneuver to get the block. He's doubled. 10 to shoot. Stockton will. It's a 3.
Beautiful ball movement. Ostertag can't stick a fork in it. Fans want a foul. So does Jerry Sloan. But just 2 big guys battling for position, firmly rooted on the court. Gravity a serious factor in that battle.
A lot of mass involved there. 77-70. The Blazers by 70. Sabonis goes to work across the middle. The sweeping hook up and in. Sabonis showing a deft touch across the middle, just as he has from the perimeter. 18 points. 9 for 12 shooting.
Sabonis is making Ostertag look small. Ostertag is huge.
Russell cuts inside, and Smith strips him of the ball. The foul is on Steve Smith. Third foul on Smith.
The Utah Jazz do not have Sabonis is racking up big numbers. Ostertag to the bench. Holden Polley's back out, but not a great history of the Jazz of making comebacks. Maybe the greatest comeback they ever had in playoff history was in the '85 first round series. Russell makes the first one, but with Sabonis rolling time and time again into the lane, stepping outside for perimeter jumpers. No answer for that. The graceful explosion by Sabonis, who comes in at 7'3", about 300 pounds. The only man in the league, Sabonis, who can stand and make Shaq look like a normal-sized human being.
Sabonis will enter it to Smith, backing down, turning. The jumper in and out. Sabonis after the rebound. Malone jabs it away. Polynice will field it. Fires to Stockton.
Polynice in transition. Sabonis can't get back. They don't make him pay.
Carl's going to wait. Here's the cutter. It's Russell. Blocked by the man mountain, Sabonis. Sabas with the outlet pass to Anthony. And Isley with a chippy foul, trying to reach in from behind in the back flow. The foul will go against Howard Isley. That's his fourth. Talk about the age of the Utah Jazz. Arvydas Sabonis at the age of 35 right now, shouldering the scoring burden for the Blazers, and they go back to the big man. He's doubled. Schrempf disdains the open jumper to go to Anthony for three. Got it. Greg Anthony getting up and over. John Stockton closing out. A big one there for Anthony, who had 12 points in the fourth quarter of game one, all in the fourth period, including 2 3-pointers.
Anthony, who's maintained a very good, positive relationship with legendary coach Jerry Tarkanian over the years, talks to him regularly on the telephone. Tark is planning on coming up to one of the later playoff games in Portland to visit his guys, Greg Anthony and Stacey Augmon, who hasn't seen any action tonight.
And his longtime assistant, Tim Gergerich, over on the Blazer bench, along with Tony Brown over there. Elston Howard. Jimmy Ian. And here is
Bonzi Wells, the firepower.
Back. Yeah, where's he been?
Well, he got Scottie Pippen and Steve Smith. Bonzi was telling us what he's learned about being a professional, playing behind Pippen and Smith this year. Great defense by Bonzi that time.
Isley with a jumper off the mark, and Brian Grant has provided a spark for the Blazers on the defensive glass with yet another rebound. But Wells in 9 minutes, going back to Bonzi, 5 of 7, 11 points. Field goals in the quarter. Portland 4 of 6, and the Jazz, Bill, are 0 for 4, and they don't have a field goal since the 4:02 mark of the third. And here's Bonzi Wells again going to the rack. Well, just when Utah thought they were back into the game, the Blazers go to first Arvydas Sabonis, and now this youngster, the second-year player from Muncie, Indiana, Bonzi Wells. The Blazers lead 86-72 with 8:15 left. Back with Bill Walton and D. Lynam, Kevin Calabro courtside of the Delta Center, where the Blazers now taking a commanding 14-point lead with 8:15 to go in the ballgame. What has happened, Bill?
Oh, it's blue shirt night for one thing on Turner Sports here, but the Utah Jazz have fallen apart here. Used to be a ballgame just a few moments ago, but with the bench unable to deliver for Utah, they only have 2 points combined. It is Bonzi Wells who is leading the way with 13 points, but Detlef Schrempf has played magnificent. Greg Anthony has come alive. Brian Grant making his contributions. Sabonis playing very, very well. The Utah Jazz are on the edge and about to be pushed out.
Blazers have Wells, Schrempf, Sabonis, Anthony, and Grant on the floor. Stockton, Russell, Malone, Polynice, and Hornacek trying to get something going. Wow, wild shot indeed. The scoop shot at the bottom of the rim, and it will be Jazz, or actually Blazer basketball.
But the minutes being played by the Utah regulars. Malone's already got 38. Brian Russell's got 38. Stockton and Hornacek both have 32. So the bench guys haven't had the opportunities to score. But the little time they have been in there, there's been nothing. Bonzi Wells,
sensational. Oh, and what a pass from Brian Grant as Wells makes a beautiful little back cut along the baseline. Here's Malone now with it. They slice off the high screen, the high post. Hornacek caught in deep. Malone suddenly has gone cold. Stockton for a three. Polynice with a recovery and the putback finally.
Let's see, Stockton misses a jumper. Malone misses a jumper. Two of the greatest players ever. And then it's Olden Polynice that has to make it. So you know things are deeply wrong and out of alignment here in Salt Lake City.
Blazers by 14, 7-10 to go in the ball game. Schrempf will enter it to Sabonis.
Beautiful pass. Again.
To the opposite side, and Wells is open for a three. Schrempf keeps it alive. Grant brings it outside.
Play some clock or shoot a three.
Anthony felt it, got it over the front rim, rattles out. Grant is after it. It'll be Utah ball.
The pursuit of the ball by Brian Grant, what drives that Blazer team. If he can be healthy, if the Blazers can move on, that will be one of the great factors in that possible next round matchup between the Blazers and the Lakers. Because Brian Grant's a player who loves that physical game, who loves to get in there against Shaq and say, hey, let's bang even though you got 50, 60 pounds on me. Tough call against Brian Grant here.
And that's interesting, Bill, because the Blazers made a a decision when the playoffs began. They elected to activate Gary Grant, a guard, rather than going with Joe Klein. And as we know, Joe Klein is a mammoth veteran. That's 6 hard fouls that you could potentially put on Shaquille O'Neal. But they were so concerned about the health of Greg Anthony and the ankle. And they proposed, what if Anthony can't play in the playoffs and Damon goes down with an injury? We need a point guard.
That was exactly Mike Dunleavy's philosophy of why he could not go with Joe Klein. He decided to put Gary Grant on the end because if Stoudemire goes down and Anthony can't play, nightmare situation. You got to have somebody who can dribble naturally as a guard. Turnover, Anthony. He gets it back.
Then loses it. And then gets it back. And then Wallace out of the corner misses the jump shot. But there's Brian Grant to tip it out. Hornacek with a recovery. 3-on-2 into the lane. Tied up by Anthony. Outstanding defense. Anthony ties him up for a jump ball.
Blazers showing a lot of poise right now defensively. Greg Anthony retreats. Didn't know why he let him go right that time. He had him sort of smothered on the left side, and Hornacek, he thinks he's going here at the game tonight. My wife, my whole family's here. I brought him to the game to see me shoot free throws, and they're going to make me have a jump ball. Probably not the strongest point of Jeff's game is the jump ball.
Now with one good knee. He has a thin film of meniscus in the left knee. It's the cartilage that absorbs all the shock, and he's been playing this way for several years. He has very little flexibility in the knee as you look at Mrs. Hornacek. Jeff will be coming home full-time when the playoffs end, whenever that might be. And the word around here is that he's going to coach a big new high school here in Salt Lake City. He's going to become the varsity basketball coach.
What about the demonstration of skill, strategy, technique, teamwork that Jeff Hornacek put on at the 2-ball competition at All-Star Weekend?
Bonzi Wells again attacks the rack. He got right up in the grill of Polynice for the foul. And it will be Wells stepping to the line. This kid is really coming on the scene now.
There's no way that the Detroit Pistons could use this guy.
No.
Didn't score, only played 4 minutes in Game 1, exploded in Game 2, continued the heat in Game 3, and you just look at this guy as an offensive machine.
Tomorrow night on TNT, it's doubleheader action tipping off the night. Game 3 between the Heat and Knicks. The series tied, heading to New York. Game time 8 p.m. Eastern. Following the game, Game 3 of the Lakers-Sun series last night. Kobe Bryant hit the game winner to lift the Lakers to the 2-0 lead in the series. And oh yeah, Shaq had 38 points and 20 rebounds. Well, just a side note.
How many guys named Bonzi do you know?
No, Fonzie, of course. Henry Winkler, living down in Los Angeles now, but no Bonzis.
I don't know any other Bonzis either.
Don't know any Gwyn D'Angelo Wells either, which was his given name. Blazers leading by 14, 5:23 to go in the game.
There's been an explosion on the NBA scene of some new names.
Yep. Good young talent. Hornacek's not ready to pack it in. He nails a three-pointer. The Blazers on top by 11. 5 minutes left in the game. Wells drop step to the baseline and fouled by Hornacek. Take a look at your American Express leaderboard. Best home winning percentage in the playoffs. Of course, the Chicago Bulls, the Imperial Bulls, 76% winning percentage, 98-30.
And almost all of those done during the Jordan Pippen era, Phil Jackson era. Not a playoff factor before or since the Chicago Bulls. What a pass, Greg Anthony.
And Bonzi Wells with the flourish. Wells with 19.
The Jazz can't stop anybody. Bonzi Wells comes off the bench and he's going to end up with 20-plus points.
The Blazers leading 92-79. Stockton now covered by Wells. Left side to Hornacek. And Jeff hits a follow-away jump shot.
But you can't trade baskets if you're the Utah Jazz. And with Greg Anthony steadying the offense, getting what they want, they're just torturing Jeff Hornacek here with Bonzi Wells.
Wells has scored 19 off the bench. The Utah Jazz have countered with Armand Gillian's field goal back in the second quarter as their only bench production of the evening.
The only play that Bonzi Wells misplayed tonight, Scottie Pippen Santos says, no problem, Bonzi, you just keep playing. The veteran leadership. Scottie hasn't brought out the championship rings yet. He's got the 6 of them. Step out foul by Wallace. Scottie Pippen, though, and Steve Smith, the two key acquisitions, along with Detlef Schrempf, leading the guys, encouraging. Scottie said that he has purposely not brought the rings around all season long. He's waiting one more round. Very confident Scottie is that they can get past the Utah Jazz, and why not? They got a commanding lead here of 11. They've played with the lead throughout. They're up 2-0 already. No team has ever come back from down 3-0. Only 7 teams in history have ever come back from 2-0.
Here's Russell for a three. And there's Brian Grant again on the defensive glass here in the fourth quarter. That has been the domain of Grant, who has plucked off 6 rebounds.
Scottie was asking for advice of how to display the ring. Should you put them on a table? Should you put them on a board? Should he put them all over his fingers?
I think that would have the most effect. Here's Wells for a three. Schrempf hustles down the loose ball.
Bring it out and run clock if you're Portland.
3:35 left. Blazers by 11. Anthony being pressured by Stockton. Anthony trying to turn the corner, drops it out to Sabonis. 14 to shoot.
A lot of time to shoot. And for Bonzi Wells, he gets rejected by Karl Malone.
Here's Hornacek in the front court. Hesitates, jams it into 5th gear. Missed a running hook, and again, Brian Grant with a rebound. The Rasta Monster has anticipated the Jazz misfires beautifully.
He's found a great rhythm on the glass right now, which he didn't get in the first half. But with Bonzi Wells just going by a stationary, statuesque Jeff Hornacek, Karl Malone has to come and help. One of the few times that the help has got there on Bonzi Wells early enough.
Coming up on Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith in studio tonight. It'll have post-game reaction from tonight's game, and we'll look ahead to tomorrow night's Knicks and Heat game number 3, and a special feature with Hakeem Olajuwon.
When's Charles Barkley coming back into the studio?
He's got a nice gig, doesn't he?
I thought he signed a contract to come in to be in the studio. I don't understand this.
I think as long as Pippen is active in the playoffs, Charles stays out of the studio.
They'll put that behind them eventually. That's just a little spat between two great winners.
Sabonis playing through the foul, score the bucket. Sabonis quietly has dismantled the Utah Jazz, Bill, with 20 points, 8 shy of his career playoff high, and 8 rebounds, which is 2 shy of his career high in rebounding for the playoff action. 95-81, the crowd here at the Delta Center heading for the exit. It looks like the Blazers will win Game 3.
They go back and forth, but I think in the long run they're going to be a lot happier having him at home. He's going to get to be involved a lot more than he has been in the past, so they're excited.
Thanks for taking the time. By the way, Kevin, Stacey and I have been confused for one another over the years.
I can see the resemblance, Steve. Thank you very much for your fine work here in this series, where the Blazers are poised to take a 3-0 series lead in the best-of-7 semifinal Western Conference. 2:48 left in the game. Portland on top by 14.
And you can see why they would be confused, because they both spent their life in the NBA.
That's
Jeff
right.
Hornacek, so many years as a player. Dee Lynam is the daughter of great coach Jimmy Lynam.
Here's Russell with a three-pointer to keep hope alive.
Jimmy Lynam, unfortunately, the ex-coach of a number of different teams, including the Blazers, the Clippers, the Washington Wizards, the New Jersey Nets. He's had some health problems of late. He tore up his knee a little bit. He's going to be on crutches for more than a couple months. So our best to the Lynam family. Hope they can get better real quick.
95-84, Blazers with the lead in the leather. Smith on the baseline snags a jumper.
How good is this Blazer team?
Oh, Steve Smith, 20 points. 20 points for Sabonis. Wallace with 17. And then Bonzi Wells with 19 points in 14 minutes. And he's over on the bench.
And for the first time this year, the depth is really starting to become a determining factor. They didn't take advantage of it early in the season. They weren't picking up the pace. Not everybody was playing well. But at this point, you cannot look at a member of that Blazer team and say, this guy's not playing well right now. The whole team hitting their stride at the appropriate time.
Sabonis trying to work his way to the ball side and doing a bit of acting. Draws a foul on Polynice.
The bench for the Utah Jazz haven't played the minutes, haven't delivered the points. Just one basket by Armin Gilliam. Polanyi's to the bench. Isley had 13 minutes tonight. Ostertag 18. Quincy Lewis just 5 minutes. Armin Gilliam with 2. We haven't mentioned the fact that Adam Keefe, normally a player who comes in a series like this when it gets rough and tough, and he can come in and play very well, but he hasn't played in a while because of a severely strained hamstring. Adam Keefe having to sit it out in street clothes.
Technical foul called a moment ago on Olden Polynice. Steve Smith at the line for the technical foul shots. Polynice is fouled out of the game, and here comes Sabonis now, stepping up with 2 shots.
But what did the Jazz do? They've never been swept in a 7-game series. They're going down 3-0. You got 2 of the greatest players in the history of basketball. 2 of the greatest duos ever. Joining the likes of Elgin Baylor and Jerry West, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Jordan and Pippen from the Bulls days, Bird and Kevin McHale. Karl Malone can't get that jumper to fall. Wilt Chamberlain and whoever throwing anybody. Bill Russell the same way, throwing anybody. And these guys may be going out of the playoffs without a championship. How sad.
Portland by 16. It took Jerry West, what, a dozen years to get that first championship. It took Jordan 7 years, I think, to get it. Olajuwon 10 or so years to get a championship.
Elgin never got one. Karl Malone on the night, though, 28 points. 17 field goal attempts. That number down because he took 18 free throws. Only 2 free throws in the second half for Karl Malone as they were unable to sustain control.
I think your player of the game tonight is Arvydas Sabonis.
Absolutely.
He had the key buckets when the Utah Jazz made that uprising in the third quarter. They went on a 17-2 run before half to pull within 5. They came back to tie the game at 65 but couldn't take the lead. Pippen came in and led the offense in the third quarter, and then Sabonis got those inside buckets, and Brian Grant in the fourth quarter went to the defensive glass. Steve Smith checks out. Bonzi Wells comes back in, and Bonzi Wells with a huge effort off the bench tonight with his 19 points.
It wasn't just Sabonis on the offensive end, though. The steals, the intimidation, you get his body in front of people. And we have seen some very rare sights tonight as we're under a minute to go. Hornacek missing. We've seen the team booed here, the home team booed. We never see that. We've seen John Stockton booed, and we've seen the fans leave early. That is just history in the making here as the Jazz go down 3-0.
Well, Father Time has taken its toll on the Jazz, who had a long, lusty run. They were in the finals 2 of the last 3 years, but ran into a fine Chicago Bull team, a team for the ages. Arvydas Sabonis, 22 points, 8 rebounds this evening. The Jazz, of course, have Game 4 on Sunday to get things right. 103-84 is the score here, with the Blazers holding the lead, and now the basketball in 19 seconds to play.
But it's cool here of Jerry Sloan to leave his guys out there. He's not going to put them on the bench. He's just going to let them play. They played their whole career through pain, through injury. Lots of great moments. This is not one of them. The class, dignity, and pride of this incredible organization on display, led by their great leader, Jerry Sloan.
Well, congratulations to the Portland Trailblazers. They have taken a commanding 3-0 lead with a win tonight over the Utah Jazz, 103-84. Fine work by the Jazz staff, Mike Dunleavy and Tony Brown, Jim Ian over there, as well as Elston Howard and Tim Gergerich.
Biggest thing for the Blazers to not think it's over. Don't get overconfident. Sure, they've got a lot of games to go, but you never know what's going to happen in terms of injuries or anything else. You just got to come and finish them off on Sunday at 1 o'clock here at the Delta Center.
Let's go courtside now and D-line them.
Bonzi Wells, certainly there were a lot of people who had great performances tonight. But in that first round, you only got 8 minutes in 4 games. Tonight, you have 19 points in 15 minutes. Is it all about opportunity for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Coach Dunleavy just told me to be patient and take advantage of my chances. And he told me this round I was going to have a big opportunity to go against some of the smaller guards. And I just wanted to be ready and practice hard all week, and it paid off for me.
I see a lot of opportunity where you talk to Scottie Pippen, you talk to Steve Smith. What have those veterans taught you?
Everything. I mean, you got those two guys, are great players. And, you know, Scottie says it all, 6 rings. He's been there, and he's taught me moves and things I have to do to get my shot off. He knows how aggressive I am, and I just try to take everything they teach me and just put it in my game, and it's been successful for me.
Can you just describe for your team this feeling of taking this one at the Delta Center, which was the first true test?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is a real rowdy crowd here in Utah. I mean, it's the loudest I've ever been associated with, but, you know, our guys stuck together. It was just us, and we came together as a team, and we're ready to make our run. I mean, we got one more here. We're not overlooking Utah, but we're ready.
Congratulations, Bonzi. Great job tonight. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Dee. Nice work tonight. Our final score here from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Portland Trailblazers take a 3-0 lead on the Jazz, 103-84. After the break, it's Inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. Our producer, Scott Cockrell, director, Sandy Grossman, associate director, Jim Allen. Special thanks, Jeff Paris, John Coral. For Scott Ellsworth, our statistician, D-Line and Bill Walton. Kevin Calabro from Salt Lake City. Good night, everybody.
And that is very, very significant. And of course, along with that, Brent, we have resolved a costly lawsuit, at least potentially at the moment.
Okay, now what have you replaced compensation with? What are you going to do in the year 1980?
Well, we'll work. This extends over a period of 10 years, Brent. The first 5 seasons will have the status quo. We'll operate as we have been, and there'll be a phasing period to adjust to this. And then we'll go to what is called first refusal. That means that a player going to a team that he desires to go to, and that team bids for that player, establishes the top offer for him. The player then goes back to his present team, and the present team can retain the player if it matches that bid. It's a first refusal.
How many days do they have to match it?
Well, that hasn't been established yet. We will be setting up time frames, a lot of the details very soon. But I think that what we're talking about in the final analysis is a decided change, a new approach, a concept over 10 years that is a little bit revolutionary in a way.
Now, Los Angeles and New York have got to have more money than a lot of the other teams in the league. What's to prevent them from going out now and buying the best teams in basketball, and the other teams won't be able to meet the price?
Well, some people feel that will occur, but this is untried, untested, and our feeling is with first refusal, with the retention of the draft, which assures the initial phase that provides competition and balance in the league, that this is workable. It will open it up considerably. It will broaden the whole operation. But I think we're moving in a direction that it's new and indeed historic for sport in America.
What does this do for a merger possibility between the NBA and the ABA?
Well, as you know, there was an assumption that if we resolved all this, then that would automatically lead to merger, and that is not the case. The Board of Governors of the NBA unanimously declared today that they are opposed to merger with any league. The NBA will go on as the NBA, and there will be no merger. That was their decision unanimously today.
Larry, I want to congratulate you on the hard work, and somebody else I want to say a good word about, and I'll tell you, that's Larry Fleischer, who is the head of the NBA Players Association.
Let me join with you in that regard, because just quickly, Brent, I was told 2 things when I took this job. The owners, you never can work with them. The players, you will never cooperate with you. I have found just the opposite. The owners and the players will work together. I have found no difficulty in that regard. Intense, tough, difficult negotiations all the way, but by gosh, they've gotten there together.
Well, I want to tell you, in his own quiet way, Fleischer's done a better job for the basketball players than perhaps some of the leaders of the other unions, and I just hope that basketball and baseball, now, of course, we've got leadership established by basketball, and I mentioned baseball and throw in football, and perhaps we can get all this mess resolved and we can get back to concentrating on the game.
I think they're all looking at us tonight, Brent. They'll be watching to see how it functions.
All right, Larry, thank you very much for being with us.
Nice being here tonight.
Mario Eli da 3 punti, Super Mario. Aia, wow! Schau dir, ja. Glühenheiß, das ist grande. The dunk du match. Wow, 这个球我们看到 Kobe Bryant. Bingo. Junior.